Hi friends! This week we are working with the Winter Woods bundle from the new holiday catalog, and it is a must. I mean, it's left me speechless. It coordinates with Lovely as a Tree and Rooted in Nature from the Annual Catalogue, and when you get a look on the inside, it is just wonderful. There is a thinlet for this tree, the pine cone, there's two little trees, this gorgeous little berry thingy, and a curved snowbank, which is just gorgeous. And you will see there are two for the pine cone, and there are also a couple for this. And the project that we are going to make today uses this sprig. So let's get our craft on. Recently, I shared this card as part of the Creating Kindness blog hop. I was the guest designer. Eek. Sorry, just trying to turn on my light here, which doesn't seem to be plugged in. Oh, sorry about that. We'll cut this part out. So this was a card that I made as a guest designer for the Creating Kindness blog hop, and it turned out just wonderfully. I was giddy as this was coming together, so I would like to show you how I made it. So grabbing an A2 card base, this is shaded spruce, and it is 4.5 by 11, scored at 5.5 in the middle. And then we've got a mat in crumb cake, and that is 4 by 5.25. And using crumb cake, we are going to stamp our background. And as I mentioned, this Winter Woods bundle combines beautifully with the Rooted in Nature suite. So we are just going to stamp our background several times. Oh, good thing our cardstock has a front and a back. And you want to be sure that you're rotating your stamp so that you don't end up with it the same every time. You don't want to have this facing the same way. At least I don't. And there's no science to this. Just put them where it feels right. And we'll do one more tiny little piece on there. And that's the background. Easy peasy. So the next part, I have gone ahead and I have pre-stamped and cut almost all of my pine needles. So I have left one more to show you that you can cut 3 at a time, and it made very quick work of doing this. I can't imagine having had to do all of those one at a time. So just going to bring those over to my Big Shot. So those are the 3, and it might have shifted just a tiny bit, but we're making a wreath, so just be sure that those ones go on the underside. So put these away before they go AWOL, but it is fabulous having these 3 and those 2. And we will do a couple of pine cones when we get further along in the process. So I am going to take out my Stamparatus, not because we need it to stamp, but because I need the silicone craft sheet that's in here. This is the best way that I know of building my wreath. So just set all of that aside. Actually, we are going to use one of them as the basis for our circle. And I'm just going to grab some Tombow and start building. Now we don't need glue on the bottom on the first one. And just following that circle as a guide. You could have it where it's just one going out the whole time, but I want a fuller wreath than that, so I am doing both directions. And if you don't want your wreath to move while you're doing this, just put a little glue dot or some snail. Don't bunch them up too much, otherwise you're going to have a very thick wreath. I also don't want these looking too uniform. I'm just going to keep this one in the shot so you can see how I've done that. There. Now the next thing we're going to do before I forget is I have some shimmer paint in aqua painters. Sorry, in Stampin' Spritzers with some rubbing alcohol. So we're going to put some champagne mist on this one. Just give it a good spray from a distance. And because of the alcohol, it dries super fast, which is fabulous. So we're gonna set that aside for a couple of minutes and we're going to work on those pine cones. So I'm just gonna grab a little scrap of early espresso. And the pine cone mounted on an A block. And with your early espresso ink, just stamp 3 of them. I've been having issues with my early espresso ink. It doesn't refill properly, re-ink. So I have ordered a new one. So the next time you see me using early espresso, it should be much easier to use. Now, I will bring the big shot in for this one because I want you to see just how easy these are to line up. Making sure this is in the shot so you can see it. Just take your piece of early espresso. This would be a lot easier if I didn't have my phone in the way of where this was going to be cutting. And if my fingers weren't sticky. There. So we'll do these 2 and then we've got 1 more after that. With embellishments, I do like to use odd numbers, typically in 3s. So there's 2 of them. We'll do 1 more. So I had no intentions of getting this bundle. Absolutely none. I looked at it in the catalog, thought it was pretty, but I've already got Rooted in Nature. What do I need this bundle for? And then one of my downline ordered it and offered to let me play with it to come up with some ideas. And now I need it. I absolutely need it. So that is going in my next order. And I would recommend that if you don't have Lovely as a Tree or Rooted in Nature, that you think about investing in those as well as winter woods. It's not overkill. They all complement each other beautifully. And this one is just, it's so versatile. So I've got this Wreath card. I've got this card that I did Facebook Live not too long ago. I have this, which right now is just a background. I haven't done it on a card, but so beautiful and so different. Those are using 3 of the different pieces. This one has the buffalo check, but I mean, you couldn't ask for a simpler card. So you can see with the Wink of Stella, if I do that, it pretty much takes all the detail out. So I'm gonna take that one off. You can see I basically washed away all of the detail. So that is the difference between shimmer paint and Wink of Stella. With the shimmer paint, I'm just gonna cut out another pine cone here since I had already stamped one. With the shimmer paint, it doesn't change your design. It adds that little bit of shimmer without being too wet and without distorting your image at all. So let's do that like I did the first time. Not sure why I chose to do Wink of Stella. We'll say that it was an experiment just to show you. Now with this, because I've already sprayed the leaves, it is going to be a little bit more shimmer than I had initially anticipated, but we don't need a lot. So there we go. It's so pretty. Now we will grab a length of our burlap ribbon. And actually, I had already cut this. So what I did was I cut the little thread that joins this all together. And then just pull it out. And you get a lovely frayed effect. So just keep pulling this until it frays as much as you want it to. You could leave it intact, but I liked the look that it gave with this little bit of fraying. So that should be enough. And then lifting your wreath up very carefully because it may have started to dry where it is. I'm just gonna get rid of all this. We are going to do our little berries, and I do kind of wish that there was something in here that cut out these berries, but what I did was I took these little snowflake pieces from Snowflake Sentiments and just cut out some real red cardstock. So just taking a little scrap of what you've got will be perfect. If you have a better way of doing these berries, I would love to hear it because this was a little tedious. There are different pieces within the Snowflake Sentiment bundle, but I felt like they were a little bit too small. So I was using the middle there, and then you can, if you want a red snowflake, you can use that for something. Now that being said, I don't know where my paper piercing tool is, so Well, that's going to be annoying. Always put it back in the same spot. So you can see that's a good sized dot, but that's only 2 of them. So you've got to cut them out quite a few times, because 2, 4, 6, 7. So you know what? Just to give it a try and to save some time, I am going to do this piece from the Snowflake Sentiments, and the dots won't be as big, but we will get all that we need in one fell swoop. And again, this would be a lot easier if I could find my paper piercing tool, because these all stay in there. So I will just use my bristle brush. Now you can see those are tiny. And just gluing down our mat. Now that I'm looking at this, I did use Sahara sand the first time around, not crumb cake. So it was Sahara sand cardstock and crumb cake ink. This time I did crumb cake on crumb cake. And I'm just, because I had to turn my mat over, I just want to get rid of those little fluffies from cutting. So use a couple of glue dots for your burlap ribbon. Oh, how I miss you, paper piercing tool. You know, as soon as I press stop on this video, I'm going to find it. It is likely buried in the class supplies I had yesterday, or I left it somewhere I shouldn't have. Now, instead of using Joy on this one, I think I will use Mary. My Noel kind of broke when I took it out of the packaging, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to salvage that one. I tried gluing it on the front and the back, but it's still very wobbly. So we'll use Mary. And for this, I just put Tombow on any of the wider spots. And then trying not to cover anything up, whether it be a berry or a pine cone. We'll put our Tombow on the back, giving it a nice application because it's going to be sitting on the burlap. And while this is a multi-step project, you can see that it's not really labor intensive. It's doable. So that is it. I did not put a sentiment on the inside, but you are more than welcome to change this up and do it how you would like to do it. And that is it, my friends. I thank you for joining me this week, and if you haven't hit that big subscribe button below, please do so, and you will see a new video each and every week. Thank you for stopping by. Bye, friends.